In this episode of Highlight Sundays, we ring in the new year with some new technologies. Hello and welcome back to Highlight Sundays. It is the first week of 2013 and here are your highlights. We start off with a little PSA, I suppose. However, this isn't really something that you have to be careful about. This is just more of an ongoing thing in the YouTube scene right now, and it takes the form of YouTube actually cracking down on fraudulent views on videos. This information comes from a Daily Mail article entitled "YouTube Cancels Billions of Music Industry Views After Finding They Were Fake or Did." According to this article, basically what YouTube has found is that number of traffic arriving at certain videos from certain pretty important channels were actually fake views. Of course, views in the YouTube world is a pretty big matter for the very simple reason that advertising revenue actually comes from these sources. Every view equals to some amount of advertising revenue, so every increased view means more money. Of course, then faking these views is in fact really a kind of fraud. According to the article, over billions of impressions were actually removed. Apparently, it is also within YouTube's policy that if a video is found to have repeated infringements of having fraudulent views, what YouTube can do is YouTube can actually take down the videos in question or even the entire channel as a whole. And that actually happened in this case. A number of pretty big record labels actually have their videos completely removed. As a content creator and one who actually benefits from the entire advertising program, I guess it's good to know that such fraud isn't going undetected. This ensures that there is a level playing field and nobody's getting an unfair advantage. So we move on to the new technologies. Now, this one is particularly interesting because you can already do it. As long as you have an iPhone 5, this should greatly interest you because you get to do it as well. What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about this article in Lifehacker. This article is entitled "Cycloramic Captures Hands-Free 360-Degree Video on Your iPhone." Now, Panorama capturing tools aren't actually new by any stretch of the term. However, most if not all of them actually rely on one thing, and that is you having to actually move your phone, manually. This program, however, does things a little differently. If you have an iPhone 5, and apparently it does need the iPhone 5 to do this, you can actually install the Cycloramic app on your phone, place the phone vertically on a desk, and start. By making use of various patterns of vibrations, of course using the vibration unit in the phone is going to rotate itself 360 degrees in a circle to capture a panoramic view. This is exceptionally interesting because it is making use of a mechanic within a phone that was never meant for this purpose. Now, I keep saying you do need an iPhone 5 to do this, and that is because the app creators actually said that as well. However, nothing is to stop you from actually downloading this and using it on a different iPhone. For example, the writers of the article actually tried it on an iPhone 4S and it managed to do half a revolution. All in all, this is an exceptionally interesting concept. And well, hopefully people actually explore this entire using the vibration unit to make the phone move thing into greater depth because this looks promising for some fun stuff. If you head over to the article in the video description, you will be brought to Lifehacker where there is actually a video link, so you can actually take a look at this in action. Eye-controlled computers are now a real thing, says this article at Gizmodo. This article talks about a little peripheral manufactured by a company called Tobii. Basically what it does is it attaches to the bottom of your monitor and well, it will constantly track your eyeballs. And then you can actually use your eyes as a pointing device. So we've actually heard of this device as a concept for a while now. And basically what this article is saying is, well, this device is going to move into production. Two variants are available, one of which is just the peripheral itself. Now the unfortunate thing is for this consumer edition, they are only going to move 5,000 copies into production. So if you're really interested to get it, you might have to do that soon because, well, 5,000 isn't a lot of units. You can also choose to invest in the developer's edition if that suits your fancy. And basically what that is a laptop with the Mobi peripheral already mounted onto the laptop screen itself. This is said to cost $1,000, whereas for the consumer version, no pricing has been given yet. Mouse alternatives have been around for the longest time, things like tablets or light pens or trackballs, trackpads, so this of course is no exception. Now I don't know what it's like in terms of ease of use or what kind of strain you will be feeling after extended usage. However, as a concept, it seems really cool. So I'd love to see people actually use it and critique the thing. And hopefully maybe one day it will be as common as the mouse. Our last article for the day probably interests me a lot more than most other people. So I thought I should maybe give a little bit of a background before I actually jump into describing this. Quite some time ago, I read a book called Piloting Palm, and that has actually made me extremely interested into Palm's history. And one of the devices mentioned within that book that wasn't actually created by Palm was actually the Apple Newton. Now, that wasn't so much of competing hardware as it was just one of the experimental stuff that happened in that day and age. So as its name implies, the Apple Newton is basically one of the earliest PDAs that Apple was creating, and in a recent interview, an interesting insight was actually revealed about the production of this device. We of course learned this from this Gizmodo article entitled "Apple Ignored Qualcomm's Suggestion of Adding a Radio to the Newton." This is apparently information revealed recently by Qualcomm CEO Paul Jacobs, and well, this is a pretty interesting revelation in the sense that, the iPhone could have came 2 decades early if Apple actually decided to roll with that. Not saying that, that is necessarily a good thing. It might not be, because, hey, 20 years can mean a lot for technology related stuff. And of course, even as I say this, the article actually goes on to mention that Qualcomm moved its offer over to Palm. So Palm and Qualcomm did indeed collaborate and create a smartphone called the Qualcomm PDQ. You've probably never heard of it because it is extremely obscure, but I guess, well, that is the precursor to the modern smartphone. So alright, that wraps it up for this episode of Highlight Sundays. Just a quick vlog segment. Before I did the whole sorting algorithms redux thing, my schedule kind of ran like Sunday, we have Highlight Sundays, and on Monday, we have our Random Monday video. Starting now, I'm going to push the Monday video to maybe Wednesday or Thursday. Hopefully this kind of partitions the week better, so hopefully it will make, the whole channel experience slightly better, because of course I understand that having a video on Sunday and Monday and then leaving the entire week blank is kinda not so balanced. So we'll see how that goes. My school term is starting soon, so things might get upset a little bit for a short period of time. But, well, I've already done a semester, so I believe I can pick up quite quickly. So that's basically all there is for this episode of Highlight Sundays. If you have any comments, queries or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. As always, I appreciate every like, favorite and subscription you give me. Until next time, you're watching 0612 TV.